Some of you clicked this video because you use AI every day to make great work. You write with it, you think with it, you produce things with it, and you probably couldn't produce without it. Now, I'm not here to tell you to stop, right? But I do want to ask you something that you probably haven't sat with properly, right? And that is, when AI finishes your sentence, when it generates your first draft, when it solves the problem you're about to solve, what happens to the part of you that was about to do it instead? Does that part of you get sharper, or does it quietly retire? I want to reframe this a tiny bit, because this video isn't the usual AI panic piece, right? So I'm not going to tell you to delete all your chats and because AI is making you dumb. I think that framing is too simple. And it lets the real question off the hook. And the real question isn't about intelligence. It's about who or what we'll become when we stop doing certain things ourselves, right? So think about GPS and Waze or Google Maps, right? Navigation apps didn't make us stupid, right? People still function perfectly well, but there's actually decent evidence that our spatial memory, the internal sense of direction, where things are, humans, we've developed that over thousands of years. And that's weakened, right, in people who heavily use, sort of Waze and stuff like that. So we didn't lose our cue point, but we have outsourced that capacity. And that capacity over years has slowly atrophied. And I think AI is doing a similar thing. But the scale and speed of how it's happening is making GPS and stuff like that look very minor. Because what we're doing is we're outsourcing reasoning, expression, problem solving, and in some cases, we are outsourcing judgment. Here's what I want to be honest about rather than alarmist. There are people using AI brilliantly. Researchers are moving faster, small teams are building things that would probably require 20 people. People with dyslexia are finally able to express ideas clearly without a barrier and a page and stuff like that. And that's genuinely good. I am not dismissing that. But there's a different category of user that I think we should be more concerned about. And if we're being brutally honest, most of us are in this category some of the time. And that's the person who turns to AI not because the task is beyond them, but because it's the path of least resistance. The student who prompts rather than thinks, the professional who generates rather than wrestles, the creative who iterates on AI output rather than sitting down with the discomfort of a blank piece of paper. The discomfort of a blank piece of paper is not a bug. It's actually a feature. It's where most original thought comes from. It's the friction that forces you to actually encounter what you believe, what you know, what you can do. And I think when we remove that friction entirely, we don't get to the destination faster. We skip something that's meant to be part of the journey, that's meant to take us somewhere else. This question of AI is really about what makes us human. And here's what I think is at stake and why I chose the framing, does it make us less human over does it make us dumber, does it make us stupid? Being human has never been primarily about processing information efficiently. That's just not, we're not machines. If that was the measure, then we've lost the computers decades ago, right? What being human has always been about is the struggle, the effort to make meaning out of confusion, to feel our way through uncertainty, to produce something that cost us something. Your favorite song cost the person who wrote it something. Your favorite book came from somewhere where someone sat down with a difficulty for a long time and then it turned into clarity. The things that move us always have been produced through genuine human struggle. And now AI can produce competent output. It can be elegant, well-structured, well-reasoned, but what it cannot do is suffer over it. Right? It can't be changed by the act of making it. It has no stake in what it's making or whether that thing is produced in a way that's good or it's true, whether it's meaningful. And that's the risk, right? The quiet, slow risk is that we consume more and more content made by something that has no stake in the content it's producing. And the more that content is made, the more we partner with it, and then we end up having no stake, and then we gradually lose our feel. Now, I use AI. I'm going to keep using the AI. I'm not asking you to throw away your laptops into the River Thames, right? But what I am asking you is to question what we protect, what we insist on doing ourselves, right? Slowly and perfectly in our own voice. I think that's one of the most important questions of the decade. What will I do myself? Not because AI is evil, but because what we practice, we keep. And what we stop practicing, we lose. Now, the goal shouldn't be to avoid AI. It should be to stay in loop with your own thinking, to use AI as a tool without becoming dependent on it as a crutch, to know the difference between a thought you generated and a thought you approved. That distinction between generating and approving might be the most human thing left for us to protect.